Okay, quick. Let's just do. I just want to understand the audience first. Who's first time at DevRelCon? First DevRelCon ever. Okay, let's just check. Who has been at a DevRelCon before? Two out of six, three, four, 6 out of 60. That's great. Okay, who has seen? How many of us are here and meeting a DevRel professional for the first time, or how? Like, this is completely new to them. One, two, three. Atul, hands down. Hand down. People are waiting for your posters. Full local celebrity you are. That's okay. All right, great. So, folks, my name is Cherish. I am very fortunate and actually privileged and honored to be here. This is my fourth DevRelCon to be a part of. First one in India. So, a big round of applause for all the organizers who've put this into India. Let's just get it right. It took a lot of work to actually get this to India. It doesn't happen overnight, and I'm sure a lot of work went into it. Okay, so a little bit about me. If my clicker works, which it doesn't. Oh, okay, that's it. Like my face wasn't good enough, here's another. Uh, okay, so I'm currently, a quick introduction about me. I have a decade of experience, worked with some of the brands. Is this good for this frame? Okay. So I worked with some of the brands that you might know, Google, Amazon, HackerEarth, and a bunch of startups like Savo, HackerEarth, or Orcus or whatever. Some of them not so startups anymore. I know about 70% of you here, so I'm very happy to see very familiar faces. Currently, I serve as a board member at Dev Network, where we define strategies for a lot of startups. These startups come to us saying that what should we do to actually take back, and these are all Dev First or Dev Plus companies. And for Answer, and the second job that I have here in Bangalore is called at an Answer, where I finally consult publicly listed companies and Fortune 100, 500 companies on how to take their developer strategy, especially in India. So I think last 1 year has been very monumental for me to actually consider DevRel strategies for India specifically. Okay. Next. Can I just say next? Okay. All right. How many of us are currently working for Indian companies? Okay. How many of us are not DevRels here? Okay. So, how many of us are working for companies outside of India? Outside of India. Great. So, when dollar rate goes up, do you get happy or sad? Sad. Okay. So okay, maybe people who are earning in dollars, they're like, yes, I will short my country. Okay, how many of us, actually I saw Siddhant's talk, and because we didn't get a chance to communicate, I think a lot of our points are going to be overlapped. But it's talk of the town now. It's nothing new that we know. It is being called India's decade. Any thoughts why? I will keep this communicative so that I have your attention and interaction as well. Any thoughts on why do you think, what is something that India will do that the rest of the world won't in the next 10 years? Quick shout. Learn from mistakes. Yes, we have many. Yes. Adoption of AI at a massive scale. That's great. Yes, that is actually great. That's actually a great point. I think China has done a lot of mistakes, especially with one-child policy, that we're reaping the benefits of. So we're learning a lot from their mistakes. And you're right. I think we are rightly placed right after these heading curves. So we have a lot of tailwind, that takes us. Okay, cool. So a little more on why I think this is India's decade, compared to. Okay, how many of us seen this graph? We have. Okay, we have. Yeah. So these are basically top 10 developer communities on GitHub from 2019 to 24. I want you to look at these and tell me which one of these between 1, 2, 3 is India's. One. Okay, we have one. One is India's. One. All three are India's. Are nahi, dude? Last says France. Yeah. Oh, maybe we could get. No. These are all different countries. These are growth of developer communities across 2019 to 2024. So I want you to consider which one of these has been India's. Who has grown the most, fallen, or has it been consistent? One. Three. All right, open your hands. 7, 3. C, 3, 3, 3. 9, 1. Okay, let's find out. Okay, India was actually number 3. Now look at this. In last 2019 to 2024, we've gone from. It's actually been very spectacular because in 2014 we were about 5 million developers on GitHub. When I say GitHub, GitHub counts their community as anybody who came to GitHub and even did interacted with a little bit. So they don't necessarily have to be a contributor, but even considering they may not be active on GitHub, they could still be a developer, right? Because some people don't necessarily use GitHub; they have their internal tools as well. So India has grown from legit 5 million developer community to a 17 million developer community only on GitHub in 2024. This is quite monumental because in next 2 years, we will surpass US and become the biggest developer community in the world. Isn't that great? I mean, don't you think like this is something that is something that we're doing better than the rest of the world? So of course, AI adoption is happening. One more thing that I'll talk about more here is that in coming years you'll see a lot of Indian developer communities. Actually, not just we're the second highest country which when it comes to adopting a lot of this tech, and the third highest when it comes to contributions. This is the projection from 2024 to 28. Now look at this 28, right? From 24 we'll stay where we are at number 2. From 27 onwards, we'll take over United States. Now, this is quite monumental. The reason for that are twofold. Whenever there's budget allocated in any kind of developer-first companies from VC standpoints, they can look at two things, right? They can look at one, where can they see the fastest adoption of the product that they're funding? Two, where can they get the quickest and the most quality contributions to the product that their teams are building? Because if the product gets better, the adoptions come in naturally, and if the user base is obviously bigger, the adoptions become easier to the product becomes easier and to adopt. So we're hoping that in 27 onwards, we'll see a lot of funding actually gone into developer first and developer plus companies. So good news for all DevRels here that you'll be managing real big products. You'll get a lot of budget, inshallah. And we're hoping that this goes really well, right? So this is what we're hoping in from GitHub standpoint. Now this is big, right? Now look at from 2024 to 2028. Only half a decade, we'll see that India is growing, right? And this is why we think India is actually well positioned for next coming decade. Now let's look at what happens after that, right? What are some other other reasons that are causing to this? Okay. One more thing that has it has contributed to India's growth, right, is the internet ubiquity. Ubiquity means something being pervasive and everywhere. Like now how Androids are, right? Now how internet is. Before Geo came along, we didn't have a lot of people using internet. And if we didn't have a lot of people using internet, how will they develop, right? They can't be developing on local systems. So in last, from 20, sorry, I don't know what happened. Let's go back. Can we do back from there? Yeah, that's good. I'll just say next, you can do next. That's okay, right? If you notice the curve that we're following, right? US had a similar moment in 2000 to 2014, where they had internet actually explode from even go more pervasive in the rural areas, and that increased the developer community. And of course, that happened with China and India as well. That created more developers, and further that created more unicorns in general. This is 2019 metrics, but today the number of unicorns that we have are above. Any guess? How many unicorns do we have in India?
120 plus. 120 plus. 120 plus.
120 plus. That is correct. Any closer number? Okay. Yes, it is 120 plus. I think it's 141 today. The reason for that is also that a lot of these people who were at tier 2, tier 3 cities, which you rightly pointed out in your presentation, is that a lot of these people actually found grassroots levels problems and then find a way to build for it. The problem here is that India is so wide and so big that we often don't realize that the problems that we have are already being solved for the companies and countries that have crossed this point, right? Now, the problems that we really want to solve, we have to face it personally to actually get there. So, internet ubiquity or internet pervasiveness, what that happens if I am from, let's say, Bhilai, right? I know some people who are from Bhilai or Durgpur or whatever. The problems they face there are very different from the problems that Bangalore faces. I think the problem that Bangalore faces, anything we touch is a problem, right? We're only good at software. If you can touch a road, it has holes. If you can touch if you can touch a car, it's stuck behind another car. But a lot of these problems that Bhilai or like a lot of these tier 2, tier 3 cities have are are most of the India, and that's where I think that people there are waiting to get their problems solved. The people, unfortunately or fortunately, the people who will solve these problems are also living in those areas. Like for example, I know a lot of people who are currently building for their own cities. I think 2014 or 15, when we were at part of Google Student Ambassador thing, we had Google's community actually directed us saying that why don't you solve for your own city's problems, right? Which is when I went, you remember that? Remember that? Deepak Sridhar, yes, Deepak had launched that, right? So we solved those problems, and that's where we got a lot of adoptions. One of the things that I solved for my own city, Chandigarh, which is where I'm from, beautiful city if anybody is coming. What we had was that Chandigarh has a very simple address, right? There is no that nagar, that cross, that main, no scene like that, brother. It's house number, sector. So house number 7, sector 14, khatam. That's all. That's all you need to know, right? It's as planned. It's the first planned city, so it had to be that. Now the problem with that was, even then, for people who were to come to Chandigarh for the first time, they wanted to know how to guide there because it's a planned city, so every sector looks the same. So we had to create a city-wide problem. The minute we created that, we solved that problem by digitizing all the data that government had populated. This is what government did, right? They were so hungry for a solution for a small city like that they used that solution as a module for My Smart City app. And the minute that got added as a My Smart City app, we went from 0 adopters to 1 million adopters in 90 days, right? Because people were already using that app. So imagine the power, right? Like if somebody in Chandigarh did not have the power to actually work with the tools or work with these developer communities, they wouldn't be solving for it. They wouldn't have the exposure to actually build a product for 1 million developers, and obviously not the learnings and the scaling that came with it. This is why I think that internet ubiquity and its pervasiveness in the country is actually going to help India actually get better. One of the things when we were in Chandigarh, right, we had a friend, or like we had somebody who was actually from, I think, Muzaffarnagar. Anybody from Muzaffarnagar? Okay. So he had an old uncle who would sell pan, right? He's like कि uncle आप पान बेचते हो? How do you keep a track that कितने पान बिके हैं? It's like कि आधा time तो मैं भूल जाता हूँ कि कितने पान बिके हैं. Because it's such a small business, people take khata, or they take borrow lending, or they thoda udhar lete hain. So the simplest app, and this is a guy who was, I think, 14, who we met. He created a very simple counter app, plus minus erase, and a counter on top. So ye to sab bana lenge, right? Like an app like that. And he put that on Play Store, that you count your pan, plus, minus, and simple, like add karo, counter hota jayega, minus karo, kam ho gaya, and then reset and 0, right? By that time, he could just add it, and by the time, total how many pans I've sold. Such small problem. You think any of us are solving here? We're not, right? Will this get a million adoptions? Probably not. But will this instill the confidence that I can solve problems for people within my region? That will take me to a higher user and give me the confidence of building better products? Absolutely. Absolutely. When you build a product and you give it to a person who's using it every day, that's going to be great, right? So as developer, like as DevRels, it's our duty to find these people and go into these areas. Yeah, sorry about that. It's a working day, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, next. Okay, tailwinds. Tailwinds, if anybody who cycles here or does any kind of run, you cycle, right? So you understand what tailwinds and headwinds are. So if you're running and you get wind on your head, you're getting slowed, right? If you get wind on your tail while running, you go faster. So tailwinds are things that help you move faster, right? One of the things that I'm quite excited about here is that, and I think this is the only thing that I think somebody also said, adoption of AI is going to be great, right? It's being almost a mandate from the government now that from 6th standard itself, people will start coding, especially in AI. And this is what we'll see now. It's going to be big. I have nieces and nephews of that age who are now learning AI and asking me questions that I feel very proud of. Right? That's another thing. Again, so the number of developers that we have all across on GitHub and across otherwise are 17 million, projected to grow by 24 million in 2028. The number of professional developers we have are 5.4, like about 6, right? And we're growing about, I think about 20 to 25% year on year. And like I said, 95% increase year on year contributions to generative AI. That's incredible. I think one of the things that India really does is that we may not be the best innovators when it comes to actually, Silicon Valley level kind of things, but we perfect things really well. And I think the way that we've solved fintech problems with UPI, I don't think US has ever. I remember I was traveling somewhere in Europe, and I found they had that. We just got off the plane, and they asked everybody to show their COVID certificate. You remember that those were the times. It boggled me that people from US had to take out a paper which was half torn, unfold it, and be like, "This is my COVID certificate." And all we had was an app or like a PDF. He'll like, "I'll forward you, keep it with yourself." The things like that, like digitization that India did, US could still not do, right? So I think I'm quite excited about what we can do with Gen AI. Okay, next please. Okay, challenges for Indian DevRels. Now, since it's a developer relations conference, right, I'm quite excited to hear what other challenges we feel. Of course, there's more here, but a quick round, we'll take quick questions across the room and see any challenges that you found. For me personally, which is not here, I think build versus buy has been a problem here in India, and we'll come to that a little later. But as a DevRel problem, any problem that you think that you face, especially working in India? While yes, sorry. Yes, recurring users. That's great. Yes, because getting users adopted is easier. Yes. Hi Yash. Yash, any problems that you've noticed while managing DevRel problems in India? Yes.
I think a lot is about.
Can we give Yash a mic, please?
Yeah. Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, how do we synchronize the growth in all
Yes.
across? That is one. And second is, there is a lot of difference between the audience itself. Either they are absolute beginners or they're pros.
Yes.
So how do we,
Bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Sorry to put you on a spot, but I knew you'd take it and did it perfectly well. Thank
No
you.
worries. Yeah.
Any other issues that any DevRel faced while launching something? Yes, please.
Yes.
Take the mic.
Hi. First important thing is that how exactly we're trying to plan something.
How do we? Sorry, get the mic closer, please.
How are we trying to plan something? For
Plans.
example, that there is a beginner and then there is a pro. So there is no middle ground. But then how do we track slowly and steadily? It's like a turtle. How are you going to win the race? Another
Yes.
thing is perspectives. We are talking about a lot of things, but we are not sharing our perspective. We're just
Yeah.
saying, okay, I did this, I'm done.
I agree.
But how I did it, that's what we want to know.
Perfect. Yeah, the skill gap between professionals and people who are just entering the workforce is widening.
That's
if
right.
anything. I agree with that. Any other, or we can? Yes, one more, please. Defining success metrics. उस पे तो panel है. अगले 2 दिन यही सुनोगे आप. Okay, so it's gonna be there. Okay. All right. So you're right about the fact, right? Like one of the things that I think another thing that we saw in the keynote is that a lot of these developers use English as their medium, right? While I think okay, one more question, right? How many of us actually felt that we learned better from our peers than our teachers in college? Right? Okay. 90% of that. Why is that? Because people like ask each other that we speak in memes, right? Our teacher wouldn't explain things in memes. We speak the common language, whether it's English, whether that means, it doesn't matter. We get to each other. And I think this is why the gap is also increasing or not. We have to find a way to get to communicate and understand each other in languages beyond English. Especially people who are from Bhilai, Muzaffarnagar, these stories that I told, right? They don't necessarily want to, they feel very cautious to come to these meetups and be like, hey, I feel out of place because everybody speaks very good English and I don't know if I fit in. The complex gets in the way of learning. right? Which shouldn't be the case at all because you're a developer. You're not somebody who's a toastmaster, right? So that's one thing. Now look at this, right? While 70 to 75% of us developers use English as their second language in professional settings, only 40 to 45 are considered proficient, they themselves or by other people. So everybody is saying it, but themselves inherently they don't feel very comfortable or proficient, which means that they're getting in the way, right? It's getting in the way. The language is getting in the way. And what is language if not only the medium to get through each other, right? Okay, next is that another thing that we notice, and I think maybe Yash spoke about this briefly, about 1.5 million engineering graduates enter the job market, only 20-25% secure, right? This is right. The gap between 20% and 80% is so huge that the companies, they are like, we'll just hire these 20% and the remaining 80% don't find core engineering jobs, even though they wanted it, right? That's something that we've noticed. These are some problems that we notice that as Indian DevRels we have to solve. A few more statistics to actually supplement this was that, of course, leadership and support in Indian DevRels ecosystem is lesser. I have a feeling that this average work experience of this room is not going to be more than 3 years. Anybody who differs? Yes. What do you think? Little over 5. Little over 5? Okay, let's take account. We'll need your participation. Megha and Aditya, we'll need your participation for this poll. What's the average work experience here? 10 years or plus? No, okay, great. Between 5 to 7? Okay, so that's 4. Under 5? Average work ex. So little under 5, right? So we had a feeling, right? Now, because DevRel came to India a little later, or at least it was called DevRel later. I think people like us were doing a little much sooner before it got named DevRel. We don't have a lot of support and leadership here. And I couldn't be more grateful for people like, for organizers of this conference to actually start, a panel and a forum where we could have leaders who come and talk about this. We have a lot of people, right? Karan's going to be here. I think Kunal is also here. A lot of these people have been doing this for a while. And of course, these people will add to the leadership guidance that a lot of young professionals need. While you may have a lot of software engineering professional experience, but DevRel professional experience, of course, counts as well. One more thing that happens is there's something called State of DevRel Survey, which means that we take of state of developer relations professionals across the globe. Do you know that Indian developer professionals only make up to 4% of the global workforce? That can't be it. It cannot be possible because we are so good with our engineering prowess. We are so good at communicating. We're so good at managing a lot of things. We can't just be at 4% of the global workforce. That's a challenge, right? Either, and more on this, on why that happens as we go along. So that's another challenge. And another, like 57 of professionals with 2 to 3 years of work experience, which is what we just clarified and tested and confirmed by using this poll. That's another thing that's happening. And only 1% of the entire dev first companies are in India, and average salary is 17,000. Okay, take a guess. What's the average salary of a DevRel professional globally? Quick guess. 100K. 150K. 120.
Which experience group?
Huh?
Which experience group?
Average experience group as in like cumulative of about 100K. 80 to 90. Okay. It's actually 225. I mean, now considering this bear market that we have, it's 200. But yeah. And where are we? 17,000. Y'all, we got some catch up to do, right? This is something that's another thing that bothers us, and which is why conferences like these, conversations like these, leaders like these, talks like these really matter a lot. Okay, next please. Sorry to bother you, sir. I know you're chilling. Okay, what can DevRels do, right? One of the things that we can do is incorporating vernacular language. I honestly like using English in my talks because I think it gets to people a little more. One, it builds that sense of camaraderie and people are able to relate each other. That's one other thing. That's something that we. Hey, one more thing that I would suggest as a strategy for anybody who's just trying to enter DevRel or do things. And as leaders, you will have to push back or make sure that you convince your leaders. Get people who either talk in Hindi or the regional language of your state. Even if they use a little bit of mix, it's amazing. You would be surprised. And if you want to test this, roll a feedback form. Say which of these talks did you found the most, found most relatable, the most encouraging, relatable. You'll see people who use languages, a little more, of the tier 2, tier 3 cities, which is more vernacular. They were far more understood than others. Test this, right? Let's just do a test. And I've tested this. That's why it's here on the deck. The second thing which a lot of people said, Sid said, Yash said, and I'm sure a lot of people will say, tier 2, tier 3 cities need to be championed more. We saw 2 stories from Bhilai and Muzaffarnagar that why tier 2, tier 3 cities, and Chandigarh also, I would think, is tier 2 city, right? Why people of these cities need to be championed more. So if you're a DevRel who's building champion programs, developer programs, ambassador programs, while your 70%, 80% focus could be on tier 1, tier 2 city, you may get a little better traction from tier 2, tier 3 cities. Choose 1 or 2, right? Like choose Indore, Jaipur, I don't know, a lot of other cities as well, like Indore, or for that matter, to get a lot of these adoptions. So tier 2, tier 3 cities would matter a lot in getting a lot of these people signed up. And the last one, which is something that we're currently in the process of doing, is building and nurturing DevRel ecosystem. I really like that we have that DevRel folks group that's on WhatsApp for a lot of people who are there. I have not seen a lot of messages go unanswered. If anybody has any questions, people come in and actually, yes. We can, at the risk of spamming it. Yeah. You would love to see that spamming. I actually think it's a maybe, okay, how about we take this up together? What we'll do is DevRel folks will have a weekly or a bi-weekly call where we can come and share conference talks. That makes sense? Yeah. Yeah.
So I would
Do
love
we have
to hear-
Rashmi here? Anybody who's admin of that group?
Maybe Aditya, Juhi.
Aditya?
Aditya is not.
Is he here? Aditya, okay, maybe we got derailed a little bad, but
Yeah.
sure, why not? Do we have any admins of the DevRel folks WhatsApp group in this something? We are just launching something during this talk. Do we have somebody here at the conference? Or DevRel folks in WhatsApp group that we have?
Don't have anyone here.
Okay. So I think an important part of what we want to do as for DevRels for upcoming years is actually we want to build and nurture our DevRel ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that could be, of course, using that time as weekly or bi-weekly calls. So why don't we set that up and we'll share that invite. But great suggestion. Thank
Perfect.
you. So that's something that we're going to do, and I'm very grateful and glad that people are starting to take action while I'm talking. All right. Okay. Next, please, sir. Hello. Next, please. Okay. Okay. Programs made for India. Something that we've already seen. This is the last slide, of course. Sorry. This is something that we can do as a developer relations. If you're somebody who's trying to make sure that you're launching a program or are currently betting or investing in something, we could use localized meetups instead of doing a meetup for global regions. Go to different cities and do it. A lot of people do that already. Find a speaker that speaks in the common tongue and the local tongue and actually talks about it that way. The second thing is student ambassador programs. For next 10 years, we have the largest working population of the world. Our current average population of India is 29. Most of us who are either going to be developers or who's going to now code in AI or cloud, all of them are currently students. Student ambassador programs have already worked for a lot of people. I think that's something that Sid launches a hack this fall, and it's a student-only hackathon that has seen some great success. Great sponsors, great partners, and so student programs always works. One thing that I think that addresses the third issue that we have is this chasm between professionals and beginners. The gap is too widening. One thing that really helps, and we've tried this internally, and this happens at Google I/O often, is hands-on labs. We have a lot of professionals in the industry who can come and take people through the entire hands-on lab and make sure that people are able to launch their first app, or able to launch their first CI/CD pipeline, or able to launch their first LLM. A lot of these hands-on labs will help us closing that gap, and thus giving you a better quality of developers that you can market your product to, that you can ask better feedback for your own products. And the last thing is hackathons. I think we have a great hackathon community. We do 1,000 plus hackathons on a year in India, and that's the highest that we have seen. Most of these hackathons that we have students as the major participants, which is why I think hackathons work. Hackathons could have 3 objectives, which is which if you ever have to pitch a hackathon within your company or anywhere else, use these 3 objectives. The first thing that a hackathon could do is branding. When Gojek came to India, a lot of people didn't know that Gojek is currently hiring in India. Or when Morgan Chase come to India, people didn't know that Morgan Chase had like a technical role that they're hiring for. So hackathons actually is a great way to launch, brand yourself as a company that we are currently hiring for tech roles. That's one. The second thing that you can do is, of course, crowdsourcing solutions. Something like Smart India Hackathon. We have very pertinent problems to the country, and we're like, why don't you give us solutions on that? That's the crowdsourcing. That's why developers who have been in hackathons for a lot more time, they come with innovative solutions. So crowdsourcing solution. And the third is talent pipeline. A lot of people who actually go to hackathons and end up being at the finale or as the winners, they're highly employable. If you actually put them against one of the people who have just done some problems at LeetCode, I would bet money on somebody who's done, 50 hackathons as opposed to 100 LeetCode problems. Because they built the problem end to end. They solved for it. They solved a new problem every time. They went from 0 to 100 all the way. And so hackathons actually do 3 things, right? Branding, crowdsourcing solutions, and talent pipeline for the brands that are actually supporting these hackathons. So these are some programs that are made for India. This is how we can localize DevRel for India and solve these problems that are pertinent to India. And we can solve a lot of these problems that we're about to foresee. Ensuring that this entire decade is for India. With that, I think that's all that I had. My name is Cherish. I'm here hanging about. I'd love to connect with more on LinkedIn. And if there are any questions, I can take those in 5-10 minutes. But thank you all for listening so much.